Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkrupatamam vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya.
So all glories to all of you for joining this session. And here we were at the concluding section of chapter 13 from the Madhya Lila, the ecstatic dancing of the Lord at Ratha-yātrā. So we discussed in detail about the whole Ratha-yātrā ceremony, and a little portion is left here. So let's catch up with chapter 13. Other remarkable features of the Ratha-yātrā. So we were in this section, we have completed till verse 186, I think. So we will begin from there. 88. Tabe Mahaprabhu Ratha Pradakshina Kariya Ratha Pachaya Thele Rathe Matha Diya.
After circumambulating Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went behind the car and began pushing it with his head. So we understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in front of Lord Jagannath. Lord Jagannath was very happy, ecstatic, seeing the dance of Lord Chaitanya, and therefore he had stopped the car and was watching the dance. And now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu circumambulated the car of Jagannath, came behind and began pushing the Rath with his head.
Thelite chalila Ratha hoda hoda kari Chaturdike loka sabha bole hari hari. As soon as he pushed, the car immediately started to move, making a rattling noise, hada hada kari. So there was a noise in the cart. The people all around began to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hari Hari.
तबे प्रभु निज भक्त गण लाना संगे बलदेव सुभद्राग्रे नृत्य करे रंगे. As the car began to move, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his personal associates in front of the cars occupied by Lord Balaram and Subhadra, the goddess of fortune. Greatly inspired, he then began to dance in front of them. So Lord Jagannath's cart is in the front, it started moving, and once it started moving, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu along with his personal associates, he came in front of the carts of Balaram and Subhadra, and then he, greatly feeling joyful, he began to dance in front of them.
ताहा नृत्य करी जगन्नाथ आगे आइला, जगन्नाथ देखी नृत्य करिते लगिला. After finishing the dance before Lord Baladev and Subhadra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came before Lord Jagannath's car. Upon seeing Lord Jagannath, he began to dance. So Mahaprabhu is standing in front of Jagannath having his darshan and he's dancing. चलिया आइला रथा बालगंडी स्थाने, जगन्नाथ रथ राखी देखे दाहिने बामे.
When they reached the place called Balagandi, Lord Jagannath stopped his car and began to look left and right.
So Lord Jagannath is looking left and right.
So this is this special place called Balagandi, and we will know why Lord has stopped the cart and why is he looking left and right.
वामे विप्रशासन नारी केलावाना, दाहिने पुष्पोद्याना येन वृंदावाना. On the left side, Lord Jagannath saw a neighborhood of Brahmanas and a coconut tree grew. On the right side, he saw nice flower gardens resembling those in the holy place Vrindavan. So this is the place where he has stood now. This Viprashasan here, this refers to the place where generally it's like Brahman community, the Brahmanas stay there. So that is a place where he has parked his cart, and he's seeing that one side there is this coconut grove and the other side there are flower garland, and everything is reminding Lord Jagannath of Sri Dham Vrindavan. आगे नृत्य करे गौरा लाना भक्त गणा, रथ राखी जगन्नाथ करे ना दर्शना.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees were dancing in front of the car, and Lord Jagannath, having stopped the car, watched the dancing. So Lord's car is now stopped. He was looking left and right, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees were dancing. So Lord Jagannath was watching the dance.
से स्थले भोग लागे आचार्य नियमा, कोटि भोग जगन्नाथ करे आस्वादना. So that place where Viprashasan, where these Brahmana community was there, so it was customary that the food be offered to the Lord at Viprashasan. Indeed, innumerable dishes of food were offered and Lord Jagannath tasted each one of them. So when the cart reaches at that area, that's the spot for offering bhoga to Lord Jagannath. Jagannath chota bada yat bhakta gana, nija nija uttam bhoga kare samarpana.
All kinds of devotees of Lord Jagannath, from neophytes, chota, to the most advanced, bada, offered their best cooked food to the Lord. So here, all the devotees of Lord Jagannath had gathered, whether they were neophytes or they were very advanced, they had cooked with all their love and devotion the best thing that they could cook. They brought it for offering to the Lord, and we saw that Lord was tasting each item being offered by the devotees.
Actually, this is reminding me like when we have Ratha-yātrā festival, even here in ISKCON Chennai, when we conduct this Jagannath Ratha-yātrā, and then various household people, they come out, they offer certain things to Jagannath. Sometimes they offer Arati, Deepam and Arati to Jagannath. So it's like Chota Bada Bhakt, all type of devotees. That day, Jagannath accepts everyone's love and affection. So whoever comes and offers anything with love, Jagannath accepts that. राजा राजा महिषी वृंदा पात्र मित्र गणा, नीलाचल वासी अता छोटा बड़ा जना. These devotees included the king, his queens, his ministers and friends, and all other big and small residents of Jagannath Puri. So this is one festival where the whole city participates. So everybody was there offering something to Lord Jagannath.
And this is classless, right from the king to the smallest of residents of Jagannath Puri. Every devotee is involved in serving the Lord.
Nana deshe deshiyata yatrika jana Nija nija bhoga taha kare samarpana.
All the visitors who had come from different countries to Jagannath Puri, as well as the local devotees, offered their personally cooked food to the Lord. So generally there are so many rules and regulations for the offering to happen in the temple. But here we see that Jagannath, the day when he comes out of the temple for the Ratha-yātrā, he accepts food from all his devotees.
आगे पाछे दुई पार्श्वे पुष्पोद्यान बने ये यहाँ पाया लागा नाही कानिया में.
The devotees offered their food everywhere, in front of the cart and behind it, on the two sides and within the flower garden. Wherever possible, they made their offering to the Lord, for there were no hard and fast rules. So here we can understand that the Rath is stopped in the middle of the road. On one side, on the right side is the Vrindavan garden. On the left side is the whole community of the Brahmins. And devotees, what is mentioned right from the king to the lowest or the smallest devotee in Jagannath Puri, the visitors, the pilgrims who have come from other countries. So all of them have got together. They are cooking. They are offering, and the devotee has surrounded the Rath from 360-degree all sides, and they're making their offerings. And why? Because at this time there's no hard and fast rules for offering to the Lord.
Actually, this again reminds of another beautiful pastime. So when Govardhan Lila was happening, when Krishna inspired all the Brajvasis to offer bhoga to Govardhan, Giriraj Govardhan. So again, people from all over had brought offerings and it was being offered. And it is described that not only that, people who were cooking in far, far villages, Govardhan was actually stretching his arms and eating from their kitchen directly. So that's how from all the directions bhog was being offered to Govardhan. And similarly, we see here Jagannath.
Bhogera samaya loker mahabhida hoila Nritya chhadi Mahaprabhu pavan gela.
While the food was being offered, a large crowd of people gathered. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped his dancing and went to a nearby garden. So because the place was very crowded and because the offering was going on and Jagannath was waiting for that offering, so in the meantime, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped dancing and went to a nearby garden.
Prema Veshe
Mahaprabhu pavana pana Pushpodyana griha pinda rahila padiya.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the garden and, immersed in great ecstatic emotion, fell flat on a raised platform there.
Nritya parishrame prabhur dehe gana dharma Sugandhi shitala vayu karena sevana.
The Lord was very much fatigued from the hard labor of dancing, and there was perspiration all over his body. He therefore enjoyed the fragrant, cool breeze of the garden. So all of us know that this Jagannath Ratha-yātrā festival happens at the peak of summer, like June, July time. So, and we discussed in detail how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally dancing, and then he expanded and he was dancing in so many groups simultaneously. So with all that, he was very fatigued. So he was just lying down flat there and he was enjoying the cool, fragrant breeze of the garden.
Yat bhakta kirtaniya asiya arame Prativriksha tale sabe karena vishrame.
All the devotees who had been performing Sankirtan came there and took rest under each and every tree.
Ita kahila prabhur maha sankirtana Jagannath rage yaiche karila nartana.
Thus, I have described the great performance of congregational chanting by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he danced in front of Lord Jagannath. Ratha-grete Prabhu yaiche korila nartana Chaitanya Ashtake Rupa Gosai Karyache Varnana.
In his prayer known as the Chaitanya Ashtak, Sri Rupa Goswami has given a vivid description of the Lord dancing before the cart of Jagannath. So Srila Rupa Goswami has composed 3 prayers with the title Chaitanya Ashtak, and in them there is a vivid description of Lord's dancing before the car of Jagannath. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced down the main road in great ecstasy before Lord Jagannath, the master of Nilachal, who was sitting on his car. Overwhelmed with the transcendental bliss of dancing and surrounded by Vaishnavas who sang the holy names, he manifested waves of ecstatic love of Godhead. When will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again be visible to my vision? So this is the 7th verse from the first of the Chaitanya Ashtaka prayers, which are part of the Stavamala compilation. So here there is this prayer is that when will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be visible to my vision, the Lord who danced down the main road in great ecstasy before Lord Jagannath.
इहा येषु ने से श्री चैतन्य पाया सुदृढ़ विश्वास साहा प्रेम भक्ति हाया. So what is the false stuti? What is the result of hearing this description? So Krishnadas Kaviraj writes here, anyone who hears this description of the car festival will attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He will also attain the elevated state by which he will have firm conviction in devotional service and love of Godhead. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Padayara Asha Chaitanya Charitamrta Kahe Krishna Dasa.
Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrta following in their footsteps. So here are the prayers in the conclusion of at the end of chapter 13, and now we'll be entering into chapter 14.
Performance of the Vrindavan pastimes. So we have read in the previous chapter that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was resting in the garden. So this chapter begins from that particular place. So this chapter, there are various sections. Today I think we'll be covering the first 2 sections. So verse number 1 to 22, Lord Chaitanya's mercy upon King Prataprudra, and verse 23 to 46, Lord Chaitanya accepts prasad with the devotees.
So this is an astonishing section. We remember in the past that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had refused to meet the king. He said it is not proper for a sannyasi to meet the king, but here we see in this particular section, in fact previously, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was already very pleased with the king because the king took up the broom and broomed the road as a menial sweeper in front of Lord Jagannath. So Lord Chaitanya's mercy was already drawn to the king, and here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fully unrestricted, bestows unrestricted mercy upon the king.
Gaurah Pashyan Atma Vrindai Shri Lakshmi Vijayotsavam Shrutva Gopira Solasam Hrishtaha Premna Nanatasaha. Accompanied by his personal devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the festival known as Lakshmi Vijayotsav. There he discussed the super excellent love of the gopis. Just by hearing about them, he became very pleased and danced in great ecstatic love for the Lord. So this Lakshmi Vijayotsav festival, this is the main portion of this chapter, chapter number 14. And let's begin. Jaya Jaya Gaura Chandra Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Dhanya.
All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Gaura Chandra. All glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Acharya, who is so exalted.
Jaya Jaya Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana Jaya Shrota Gana Yandra Gaura Pranadana.
All glories to all the devotees headed by Srivas Thakur. All glories to the readers who have taken Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as their life and soul.
Ei Mata Prabhu Achin Primera Aveshe Hena Kale Pratap Rudra Karila Praveshe.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was resting in ecstatic love, Maharaj Pratap Rudra entered the garden. So we just now saw that the Rath had stopped. Jagannath was accepting the bhoga offered by all different kinds of devotees. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the garden. He was resting there. And that's the time when Maharaj Pratap Rudra entered the garden.
Sarvabhauma Upadeshe Chadi Raja Vesha Ekala Vaishnava Veshe Karila Pravesha.
Following Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's instructions, the king had given up his royal dress. He now entered the garden in the dress of a Vaishnava. So on the instructions of his guru Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he had actually changed his royal dress. So a king is expected to dress up in a particular manner in his royal dress. But because we have seen that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like almost allergic, if I can use that word, and because he was a sannyasi and he did not want to associate at all with king. So anything which reminded him of the royal background, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may not accept that. So that is why Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had instructed the king to change and go in a Vaishnav dress. And in this purport to this verse, we see that Srila Prabhupada has given a beautiful purport where he mentions that sometimes the devotees, now for devotees also there is a particular dress code which is expected. Like the male member, the gents, they generally wear kurta, dhoti, shikha and tilak, kanthi mala. For the women it is generally sari, again with kanthi mala and tilak, etc. But Prabhupada writes that we may change our dress in any way to facilitate our service. So what is more important is the service. So service, for the service if required. So when people are not very favorable, or when people may form opinions about you just by seeing your dress, and then you are not able to approach them and preach Krishna consciousness. So in such situation, Prabhupada has said that we can change our dress. And he is giving the example, he is quoting the example of King Pratap Rudra and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Prabhupada says that that is bona fide because this is how we follow the parampara. So that is allowed.
Saba Bhakti Ragya Nila Yoda Hatahana Prabhupada Dhari Pade Sahasa Kariya.
Maharaj Pratap Rudra was so humble that with folded hands he first took permission from all the devotees. Then with great courage he fell down and touched the lotus feet of the Lord. So as we saw that for a king to give up his kingly dress, when some people come, they are new and they begin chanting and they become interested, and then sometimes when they are told to that why don't you try dhoti, sometimes there is resistance in them. They don't want to wear the dhoti, kurta. Sometimes they don't want to apply tilak. So I mean, there is some amount of resistance, but here we see that Maharaj Pratap Rudra was actually an exalted devotee and he had the instructions from his spiritual master. So he changed his dress and he was in such a humble mood. Actually, for us, maybe it is, we may not fully appreciate the position of King Pratap Rudra. He was the king. At this point in time, we don't have kings. We have the prime ministers and we have the president. So we can take their we can understand from their position that they are very, very powerful personality. They command so much of respect and so much of power is with them. And here, such a personality is coming into the garden, holding his hands, and first not immediately approaching the Lord. First, he's with folded hands taking permission from all the devotees. And then he's approaching the Lord, and then he falls down and touches the feet of the Lord.
Akhi Mudi Prabhu Preme Bhumite Shayana Nripati Nai Punya Kare Pad Sambhana.
As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lay on the raised platform with his eyes closed in ecstatic love and emotion, the king very expertly began to massage his legs. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was lying down, Bhumite Shayana, he was lying down on the ground, a little raised platform was there on that, and he was completely absorbed in his ecstasy because he has just witnessed his Lord coming out on the chariot and he was dancing in front of that. So he was in that emotion and love, and king starts massaging his legs.
Rasa Leela shloka padi kare nastavana Jayati dikam adhyay kare na pathana. The king began to recite verses about the Ras Leela from the Srimad Bhagavatam. He recited the chapter beginning with the verse Jayati te dhikam. So this is the 31st chapter from the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, that the king began to recite the verses about Ras Leela.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these verses, he was pleased beyond limits, and he said again and again, "Go on reciting, go on reciting." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so pleased listening to these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam that he did not, and the king was there in front of him in a Vaishnav clothes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely pleased with that recitation. Tava kathamritam shloka raja ye padila uthi prema veshe prabhu alingana koila.
As soon as the king recited the verse beginning with the words Tava Kathamritam, the Lord arose in ecstatic love and embraced him. So in the 31st chapter of the 10th canto, when the king reached the 9th verse, so that verse arose such ecstatic love in the Lord that the Lord got up and he embraced the king, whom he was not willing to see. The Lord is embracing the king.
Tumi more dile bahu amulya ratana mora kichu dite nahi dilu alingana. Upon hearing the verse recited by the king, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You have given me invaluable gems. Tumi more dile bahu amulya ratna." So very, very precious, invaluable gems you have given. Mora kichu dite nahi. What can I give you in return? I have nothing to give you in return. Dilu alingan. So all I can give you is my embrace, because in return for such wonderful verse, I don't have any capacity to give you something. Etabali se shloka pade bar bar dui jana range kampa netre jaladhara.
After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to recite the same verse again and again. Both the king and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were trembling and tears were flowing from their eyes. So here King Prataprudra had followed the instructions of spiritual master and did exactly what was told to him. He went in a very humble mood. He changed the dress and he was reciting the prayers which were in line with the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became extremely pleased and he was reciting this particular verse again and again, and there were such ecstatic symptoms which appeared both in the Lord and in the king.
So this verse is from the section that is known as Gopi Geet. So the gopis are singing these prayers, reciting these prayers to Supreme Lord Krishna. So let's all recite together. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam bhuvi grananti ye bhurida jana. So this was so pleasing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he was again and again reciting this verse. My Lord, the nectar of your words and the description of your activities are the life and soul of those who are always aggrieved in this material world. These narrations are transmitted by exalted personalities and they eradicate all sinful reactions. Whoever hears these narrations attains all good fortune. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Those who spread the message of Godhead are certainly the most munificent welfare workers. So this is in a nutshell the summary of the entire process of devotional service. So here first is the glorification of Krishna's words, and second, the description of his activities. So words and activities. So if we remember in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the verse Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tatvataha tyaktva devam punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna, that one who understands my appearance and my activities, such a person upon leaving this body does not take a birth again. So same thing is here, that the nectar of your words, so the words what Krishna speaks and the activities of Krishna, that is the life and soul. Whose life and soul it is? For those people who do not find any pleasure in this material world. So they have understood the nature of this material world and how it is temporary and how it is all illusory. So they have understood the real thing, and that is why they derive happiness only in the words and activities of Supreme Lord. Then it says these narrations are transmitted by exalted personalities. So exalted personalities are the pure devotees of the Lord, whose heart is very pure and clean, and they are distributing this message of Krishna all over the world. So such devotees of the Lord, they bring these description of the Lord and his activity. And what happens as a result of hearing? So just by hearing, what happens? That eradicates all sinful reactions. So we have been committing sinful activities since time immemorial, and everything gets eradicated just by hearing Krishna's words and his pastimes, which essentially means Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is his words and Bhagavatam are his activities. Whoever hears these narrations attain all good fortune. So one, sinful reaction is destroyed. Second, everything becomes very auspicious. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. So the gopis are telling that one should not consider these words as mundane material world, because this have all spiritual potency, and those who spread the message of Godhead are certainly the most munificent welfare workers. So if I want to do some philanthropic thing, if I want to help others, so the best thing is spreading the message of the Supreme Lord. Bhurida bhurida boli kare alingana, iho nahi jane, iho haya kon jana.
After reciting this verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately embraced the king and cried, "You are the most munificent, you are the most munificent." At this point, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not know who the king was. So here, the whole glorification in the previous verse was of the devotees who were sharing this message with all, and they were considered the most munificent, most merciful people, because they are giving this greatest and the highest knowledge to the people, illusion people of this material world. And therefore, when the king recited this verse, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You are the most merciful." And although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at this point in time did not know who this person was.
Purva seva dekhi tanre kripa upajila, anusandhan vina kripa prasada karila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy was aroused because of the king's previous service. Therefore, without even asking who he was, the Lord immediately bestowed his mercy upon him. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased. So that section when we were reading that that King Pratap Rudra actually took such a menial position and he started brooming in front of Lord Jagannath, and that actually attracted the heart of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he did that service, and that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with that person, and he is reciprocating now, and the mercy is flowing. So if a person renders service to Krishna, it never goes in vain. It goes in our permanent account. So like Again in Bhagavad Gita, there is this verse, Neha Bikram Nasho Asti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Swa Alpam Apyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. Swa Alpam, very little progress if a person makes, and still it is recorded. So nothing goes in vain. So Mahaprabhu is responding and Krishna responds to all the services. E dekha Chaitanyera Kripa Mahabala Tara Anusandhan Vina Karaya Safala.
How powerful is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even without inquiring about the king, the Lord made everything successful. So this is the power of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Kripa. Chaitanyera Kripa Mahabal. So from this we can estimate how powerful is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even without doing Anusandhan, without inquiring who's this person, the Lord bestowed all the greatest fortune about him. The Lord himself is embracing the king, being very pleased with his service.
Prabhu bale ki tumi karila mora hita achambite asi piya Krishna Lila Mrita. Finally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, who are you? You have done so much for me. All of a sudden you have come here and made me drink the nectar of the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is inquiring here and he is telling that you have done so much of hit. He says, Ki tumi karila mora hita. You have done so much for me. So what has he done? Or what is the biggest thing a person can do is giving us the instructions of Supreme Lord Krishna. So Mahaprabhu is telling that you have given me to drink this nectar of the pastime of Lord Krishna. Raja kahe amito dasa dasa Bhritera bhritya khara mora asha.
So Lord had asked for the introduction of the king, and the king replied. He did not say, hey, I am the king of this country. He said, my Lord, I am the most obedient servant of your servant. Ami tomar daser. He didn't say, I am your das, I am your servant. He said, Ami tomar daser anudas. I am the servant of your servants. It is my ambition that you will accept me as the servant of your servants. So first he said, I am the servant of, and then he said, actually this is my desire that you accept me as a servant of your servant.
Tabe Mahaprabhu tanre Aishwarya dekhaila Kare hana kahiba e nishedha karila. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed some of his divine opulences to the king and he forbade him to disclose this to anyone. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so pleased with the king's humility, his submissiveness, his acceptance of the position of Dasanudas, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed some of the divine opulences and he told him not to inform anybody else about him. Raja he na jnana kabhu na kaila prakasha antare sakala jane bahire udasa.
Although within his heart Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew everything that was happening, externally he did not disclose it. Nor did he disclose that he knew that he was talking with King Prataprudra. So of course Lord is residing in everyone's heart. Lord is aware of directly and indirectly of everything that is happening within the universe, all the unlimited living entities within the universe. So Lord is aware of everything. So Lord is also aware of who this person is, but he did not externally disclose it, although he knew that he was talking to the King Prataprudra.
Prataprudre bhagya dekhi bhakta gane Raja re prashamse sabe anandita mane. Seeing the Lord's special mercy upon King Prataprudra, the devotees praised the king's good fortune and their minds became open and blissful. So now, contrary to our current world where we see if somebody else is progressing, and then I may start thinking, why he, why not me? I have been working so hard, why my performance is not getting recognized and why the other person is getting the credit? The devotees of the Lord, they function differently. So here everybody was very happy Not only happy, the word mentioned is Anandita Mana. They were all blissful. Their mind became so blissful. Why? Because the king was receiving the mercy. So nobody was thinking that why not me? Because they are free of envy. दंडवत कौरी राजा बाहिरे चलीला योड़ हस्त कौरी सबा भक्तेरे वंदिला.
Submissively offering prayers to the devotees with folded hands and offering obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the king went outside.
So getting into the next section, verse 23 to 46, Lord Chaitanya accepts prasad with the devotees. मध्यान करीला प्रभु लाना भक्त गाना वाणीनाथ प्रसाद लाना कैला आगमना.
After this, Vaninath Rai brought all kinds of prasadam, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted lunch with the devotees. So whenever we hear of Vaninath, we think of prasadam. He's brought prasadam for the Lord and his devotees.
सर्वभौम रामानंद वाणीनाथ दिया प्रसाद पाठ राजा बहुत करिया. The king also sent a large quantity of prasadam through Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramanand Rai and Vaninath Rai. बालगंडी भोगेर प्रसाद उत्तम अनंत निसकड़ी प्रसादाइला यार नाही अंत.
The prasadam sent by the king had been offered at the Balagandi festival, which we just heard about. That Lord stopped the Rath, looking left and right, and included uncooked milk products and fruits. It was all of the finest quality, and there was no end to the variety.
Chana pana paida amar narikela kanthala Nana Veda Kadalakar Bijatala. There were curd, fruit juice, coconut, mango, dried coconut, jackfruit, various kinds of bananas, and palm fruit seeds. So in the balance verses, we will see the description of this prasadam, and it is so amazing. And the items, what they would offer, I mean, it is unheard of, at least to me. And I was trying to inquire also from some Odisha people if they are aware of it, but most of the items, I think, I don't know how to get the recipes of those items. Naranga, Cholanga, Taba, Kamal, Bija, Pura, Badama, Chohara, Draksha, Pinda, Kharajura.
There were also oranges, grapefruits, tangerines, almonds, dried fruit, raisins, and dates. So, well, there are many fruits and dried fruits. Hope we are aware of them.
मनोहर लाडू आदि साते का प्रकारा अमृत गुटिका आदि क्षीरसा अपारा. There were hundreds of different types of sweetmeats like Manohara laddu, sweets like Amrit Gutika, and various types of condensed milk. So I don't know what is this Manohara laddu, but the name itself is so Manohar, man ko harle. So if anyone of you have heard of this, we would love to know more about these dishes. So Manohara laddu, Amrit Gutika, and then condensed milk.
In fact, it's mentioned hundreds of different types of sweetmeats. If you visit a sweet shop, I doubt if they even have 100 varieties.
Amrita Manda Sarvati Arakunda Puri Saramrita Sara Bhaja Ara Sara Puri.
There were also papayas and saravati, a type of orange, and also crushed squash. There were also regular cream, fried cream, and a type of puri made with cream.
Fried cream. Now we know this fried ice cream. So something fried cream.
Thankfully, we know fried cream, so we are able to understand that there must be something better than that.
Hari Vallabh Shenoti Karpura Malati Dali Mamaricha Ladu Navata Amriti. There were also the sweets known as Hari Vallabh and sweets made from senoti flowers, karpur flowers, and malti flowers. There were pomegranates, sweet made with black pepper, sweets made with fused sugar, and amriti jalebi.
Padma Chini Chandra Kanti Khaja Khanda Sara Viyari Kadamatila Khajara Prakara.
There were lotus flower sugar, a kind of bread made from urad dal, crispy sweetmeats, sugar candy, fried rice sweets, sesame seed sweets, and cookies made from sesame seeds. So the list of sweets is going on.
Naranga Cholanga Amra Vrakshira Akara Phula Phala Patra Yukta Khandera Vikara.
They were sugar candy sweetmeats formed into the shape of orange, lemon, and mango trees and arranged with fruits, flowers, and leaves. So imagine they had made these sweetmeats in the form of orange, lemon, and mango trees.
Yeah, nowadays we have those
Candies.
sugar candies there in the shape of orange,
Yeah.
and in some other shapes is there, but here it's not just the
It's the whole tree, mango
The-
tree, arranged
sugar
with the
candy.
fruits.
sugar
Fruits,
candy.
flowers, and leaves, both.
It-
All.
Dadhi Dugdha Nani Takra Rasala Shikarini Salavana Mugdankura Adakani Khani.
There was yogurt, milk, butter, buttermilk, fruit juice, a preparation made of fried yogurt and sugar candy, and salty moong dal sprouts with shredded ginger. So there were salads also.
That
Moong dal
one we know,
sprout.
moong dal sprout with shredded ginger.
Lembu Kula Adi Nana Prakara Achara Likhitena Pari Prasad Kateka Prakara.
Likhitena pari, I cannot write how many types of prasad was there. So there were also various types of pickles, lemon pickle, berry pickle, and so on. Indeed, I am not able to describe the variety of food offered to Lord Jagannath.
Prasada Purita Haila Upavana Dekhiya Santosha Haila Mahaprabhur Mana.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw half the garden filled with variety of prasadam, he was very satisfied.
E Mata Jagannatha Kore na Bhojana E Sukhe Mahaprabhu Judaya Nayana.
Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was fully satisfied just to see how Lord Jagannath accepted all the food. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not having any desire. Oh, so much variety has been offered. Now I will have
Where
good.
do I start?
prasadam. Yeah, where do I start? He is completely satisfied. How? Just by seeing that top class bhoga is being offered to Lord Jagannath. So Srila Prabhupada sorts of warns us there in the purport to this verse that a Vaishnava should be satisfied to see the quantity and the quality of foodstuff being offered without desiring. It should not happen that when we are offering and internally we are hankering, okay, I want to eat this and I want to eat that. We should be satisfied just by the offering alone, that we are able to offer good variety or good quality bhoga to the Supreme Lord.
So one time, Gaur Purnima festival, there were devotees, they were preparing different kinds of bhoga, and one team prepared many varieties of cakes. So there were different types of cake, all of them had very, very nice, wonderful decoration. They were very attractive. So the offering, bhoga was offered, and some of those devotees were waiting for the cakes later. When the cake will come, when we will get to taste. So here it is mentioned that Lord was just simply satisfied. Wow, what an amazing variety, quality of bhoga has been offered to the Lord. Not really, having
Desiring.
having any hunger for the variety of food for our own sake.
Keya Patra Droni Aila Boja Pancha Sata Eka Eka Jane Dasha Dona Dila Eta Pata.
There then arrived 5 or 7 loads of plates made of the leaves of the Ketaki tree. Each man was supplied 10 of these plates, and in this way the leaf dishes were distributed. So each of them got 10 plates of prasadam.
10 plates to receive prasadam.
10 plates. So then they'll receive prasad also, no?
10 plates. And then sit, all 10 plates on all sides. Kirtaniyar parishrama jani gaura raya tan sabar khao yaite prabhur manadaya. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood the labor of all the kirtan chanters. Therefore, he was very eager to feed them sumptuously. So first, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy with the variety of bhoga offered to Lord, and then he was very eager. Okay, now these devotees have chanted so well for so long, they had worked so hard, must be so tired. So Lord was very eager that all this prasadam should be served to them and served sumptuously.
Panti panti kari bhakta gane vasaila, pariveshan kari bare apane lagila.
All the devotees sat down in lines, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally began to distribute the prasadam.
Prabhu na khaile keha na kare bhojana, Swarupa Gosaita be kaila nivedana.
But the devotees would not accept the prasadam until Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took it. Sarup Goswami informed the Lord of this. So all the devotees seated in queues. Lord was serving the prasadam. They were very happy receiving the prasadam, and then they were looking at the Lord. When he will eat only, then we will eat.
Apane vaisa Prabhu bhojan karite, tumi na khaile keha na pare khaite.
My Lord, please sit down. No one will eat until you do. So everybody, though they were hungry, yet they were waiting out of respect and out of love for the Lord, that they wanted the Lord to eat first. So this is the type of competition which is always there between the Lord and his devotees. Lord wants to serve his devotees, and the devotees want to serve the Supreme Lord. So Lord is seeing that these kirtaniyas would be so tired, and all the devotees were thinking that Lord must be so tired. So they were all waiting for each other for eating.
Tabe Mahaprabhu vaise nij gana lana, bhojan karaila sabake akantha puriya.
At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down with his personal associates and had every one of them fed very sumptuously until they were filled to the necks. So it was not full stomach, it was
Stomach and beyond.
yeah, probably not even a peck of prasadam can go after that.
Bhojan kari vasila Prabhu kari achmana, prasada ubarila khaya sahasre kajana.
After finishing, the Lord washed his mouth and sat down. There was so much extra prasadam that it was distributed to thousands. So much prasadam had come there.
Half the garden was full. Half of the garden was full of prasadam.
Prabhur Akya Govind Dina Hina Jane Dukhi Kangalani Karaya Bhojane.
Following the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Govinda, his personal servant, called for all the poor beggars who were unhappy due to their poverty and fed them sumptuously. So first Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that all the devotees had eaten, and then so much surplus was there, so he invited the poor beggars and they were also fed.
Kangalera Bhojan Ranga Dekhi Gaura Hari Hari Bola Bali Tare Upadeshakari.
Observing the beggars eating prasadam, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted Hari Bol and instructed them to chant the holy name. So here the beggars were taking due permission from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Govinda invited the beggars, they all sat down to eat, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then instructed them to chant the holy name. So chanting means accepting oneself as the eternal servant of Krishna. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, essentially we are chanting, indicating that Lord, I am your menial servant of the servant. Please engage me in your service. So this is what it means to chant the holy names of the Lord. So this is the only solution, irrespective of what the social position I am in.
Hari Bola Bali Kangar Preme Basi Aya
Aichana Adbhuta Leela Kare Gauraraya.
Aichana Adbhuta Leela. So Adbhut Leela, we just witnessed an amazing, wonderful Leela. Kare Gauraraya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Gauranga Mahaprabhu or Gauraraya has performed such amazing Leela. So as soon as the beggars chanted the holy name, Hari Bol, they were immediately absorbed in ecstatic love of Godhead. So these beggars, they were not devotees. It is mentioned that these beggars were frustrated because of their poverty. So they were not even happy people. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fed them prasad and he asked them to chant Hari Bol. And they chanted Hari Bol and Hari Hari Bol. They immediately absorbed in ecstatic love of Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So with this we have completed 2 sections of chapter 14. We will continue from here on next Friday. And looking forward to all your comments as which portion of today's class appealed to you the most, because this was a very, again, one of the very spiritually enlivening session. I mean, we discussed such beautiful pastimes, the mercy on King Pratap Rudra, and then this Prashadam pastime, or how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in front of the chariot. So which one did touched your heart the most? So please write it down. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.